Hey everybody, how's it going? Corey here from ThemeCo with a quick video and tour of our brand new Cornerstone interface. We are incredibly excited about some of the new features that have come out in this release cycle, and they're really the culmination of a lot of hard work with our beta testers and also just some internal discussions, and we really think that you guys are going to get a ton of value out of these features moving forward. Now, all that being said, I do just want to note that I'm filming this in the middle of a release cycle, so some of these things are subject to potentially change slightly, really just at this point minor stylistic adjustments, things like that. So if this video has something that looks a little bit different in the final version you're working with, just keep that in mind. But for the most part, everything that is mentioned here will serve you well as you move forward with this latest release of the tool. So the big feature of this release is multi-document editing. It's something that people have been asking about for a very long time, and you've probably noticed already at the top of my screen here, I've got these tabs right above my live preview here. And this was really the central focal point for this release cycle. Everything that we changed was kind of built around this feature because we knew it was an exciting direction that we wanted to head into. So whereas in previous versions of the tool, you had to go up to the main navigation, select the builder you wanted to go into, find the document you wanted, open it up, and then you would have this whole context switching thing happen. And you'd have to do that over and over again for different documents. Now, if you've got multiple things you need to be working on at once, you can open them, have them available in the document bar up here, and you can easily click over into a new document. So I could go to this one here as well, and then I can get back to the page that I'm working on just like that. So this in and of itself is an incredibly exciting feature. We really think it's going to speed up your workflow as you're working on documents, because there's all sorts of situations that you might find yourself in where maybe you need to go edit your global header and kind of see how that looks across a couple different pages real quickly. And these new document tabs will allow you to do that much faster than previous versions of the builder. So how do you find these documents, these pages, these headers, these things that you've been working on in the tool? Well, you'll notice that the hamburger menu is not here anymore, but if you go over to this Cornerstone menu, this is kind of what we're calling the document navigator. So when you click on here, you're going to see a big list of all of your stuff. And again, you'll remember before that you had to click into that hamburger, go into the builder you wanted. So you had to first think, do I need a header? Do I need a page? Do I need a layout? Go into that builder, find the asset, click on it to edit, all that. And basically that has been completely eliminated in this release. You can now see all of your documents right from this global view here. And you can of course easily filter by document type. If you just want to see pages, just want to see headers, you can do that from the drop-down menu here. It does default to all documents. And you can also do a quick fuzzy search. So if you've got hundreds of pages and there's just a keyword that you want to look for, you can type that in and that will bring up the assets that you're looking for. You'll also notice that directly from this document navigator, when I hover over an item, I can quickly duplicate that header or page or layout and use it as a starting point for a new document. And I can also quickly delete my items here as well. So general management of your assets has become a lot more simplified, very streamlined, and much easier to work with. This is also the place where you'll find a few extra little tools that you might work with occasionally, such as the help menu. So if you need to get into your keyboard shortcuts and kind of see how to get to something, get to the external docs, videos, support, you can do that all from here. We've of course got our preferences as well. So these have been simplified and shuffled around a little bit, but you can just jump in here and adjust that to your workflow as needed. And then we've of course got the dev toolkit here. If you do have that on in your preferences, you'll be able to access that from the document navigator here. Finally, this exit button will take you back to the base WordPress dashboard. So just a really quick way to kind of get out of the tool if you need to. Now, adding new documents has been simplified as well. If you want to start with a brand new page, header, layout, whatever it might be, simply go up to the plus icon here, click on that, and you'll start on this blank tab. And this basically means that you want to start with a brand new blank page, header, footer, single layout, etc. This basically just means that you'll be starting with a brand new template with no content inside of it, giving you a clean slate to work with and get started from there. You'll also have access to your library of pages, headers, footers, etc. So for example, if I wanted to start a brand new homepage using this old home template I had that apparently has a typo in it, I could click on that. It would spin up a brand new page for me with all of that content in there, and I'd be good to go. And you can see that we've also got our headers, footers, anything else we've been working on. And of course, we've also got access to the ThemeCo Design Cloud library. So this is where you can start with an entire site if you need to. And of course, we've got other assets down at the bottom that you can play around with. So anything you do from this plus menu, remember you're starting up a brand new document. All right, so let's click out of here really quick, and we will jump down to our bottom bar here, which is basically the toolbar. And one big update to this release is that the interface has been reduced in its modularity a little bit. We did a poll with our users some time back and asked them how they used in previous versions the bars and workspaces that could be dragged to any part of the screen. And honestly, most people said that they tended to leave things in the default configuration or didn't even know that they could move things around, even though we had documentation on that. So just with that little bit of feedback, we decided to kind of reduce some of the options available there because it did increase the amount of just complexity we had to wrangle with moving these things around all the time. And in lieu of the document tabs that we wanted to get in, we kind of used this as a catalyst to just solidify some things and some conventions and keep them a little more clean moving forward. So the toolbar is now found at the bottom of the screen. And this is where you will find a combination of your breadcrumbs over here, in addition to the preview resizer that you'll remember from previous versions of the tool. We've got our stats here on the size of our preview and how we're looking at it. Quick access to our custom code. So this has been simplified a little bit. We now have one custom code button that when you bring that up, you can see that we have access to our page CSS and JavaScript, as well as our global CSS and JavaScript, all from one interface. And this is contextual. So if you're working on a header, for example, you would see header CSS, header JS, along with your global CSS and JavaScript there. So much more simple to kind of get in there and get working on anything custom that you've got to add to your pages. And then of course we have our undo and redo actions down here as you start working through the page. The quick preview button has been moved up here to the side of our save button. And of course, if you jump in there, we've got our options for working on elements in the live preview. We can also jump to the front end, and you can of course command click here to jump to the front end, which actually reminds me of something in the document navigator here. You can actually command click on any of these documents to open up multiple documents quickly. The default action is just to click on a document. It will close out the menu here and show that new document in a tab. But if you want to open 3, 4, or many more documents at the same time, you can simply command click and get all of those open without this collapsing on you. And then another big update is the main tabs we've got here in our workspace. So you can actually jump around to the different states of the workspace, all from within the workspace itself. And some of these things were kind of broken out into tools. For example, in the previous version of the tool, the element library was kind of its own icon down in the toolbar, but you'll now find it here. So let's just kind of run through the general patterns to keep in mind here when you're working through these items and where you'll find the things that you need. So you will always start a new document on the outline pane. And this is familiar. We've had this for ages in Cornerstone now, but this is kind of your general document tree that you're working with. So you'll see all of your elements down here. You can easily inspect an element if you want, add new items in drop zones, duplicate, delete, all the common actions that you're used to seeing there. And this is also where you will manage the settings for the document you're on. So right now I'm on a page. So this is where I can adjust my page title, my slug, if it's published or in a draft form. What template do I want to use here? Just all the common stuff that we've had before, you'll now find under that settings tab. And we've also added a little quick exit button here. So what this does is it will take you to the admin page for this asset that you're working on. And this is really nice because if you're working on a page, but maybe you've got some ACF Pro fields that you're working with and you need to go edit those really quick, you can just jump here to settings, click this, it'll open you up in a new tab, and you'll be able to see those items and work on them there. You've of course got your general page title up here, and you'll always see the document type that you're working on right above. So if you're in a header, this would say header, etc. Also, if you need to, you can simply double click into the title here and do a quick edit for the title if you need to do that. Also, as one final mechanic on this screen, you'll see at the bottom here, we've got this Make Section Template button. And this is just like the old mechanic that we've had in previous versions of the builder where you can save one or multiple sections on your page into what we call a section template, which can be reused in any builder that you need to use it in. So just like the previous versions of the tool, if you click on this, you'll see that we've got this kind of quick selection mode up here, so we can choose to have all of our sections be saved into our template, or we can only select one or the other. And once we've made the selection of the sections that we want to move into that template, we can either exit this selection mode, if we just decide we want to escape, or we simply click Save Template at this point. And a cool new feature of this cycle is we've got a little quick preview action here that will actually try and generate a preview image for you when you save it to your library. You can give it a name, save it to your library, and you're good to go. So next we have the Inspector tab here. So for example, if I click on this section, you'll see that I've moved over to my Inspector tab, and this is where I can do all of my common edits to that element as I'm working on it. And by default, this tab will say Inspector up here, but once you've renamed an element, it will give you the name of the element up here, which is a really nice just hint at what you're working on, because sometimes, especially now with multiple layout elements, you might not know if you're in a div or a cell or a column. And this will give you a quick preview. So since I renamed this, and I'll give it something a little more descriptive like my section, that is why I'm seeing section up here. But if I click on to some of these other elements, there you go. You'll see that's a row that I haven't renamed yet. So it says Inspector. But then if I gave this a name that maybe didn't reference row in it, like my layout element, you'll see that now it says row at the top. So just a nice little quality of life thing there. So you always have an awareness of what element you're working on and how to work with it. You'll also see in this same line here that we've got some quick actions up here. We've got a new feature here, which is a go up one level action, which is really nice, especially if you are deeply nested in a tree of elements. So right now I'm on this component here, and if I just click up one level, I can very quickly move up the tree and get to my parent. And then of course, when I'm at the top level, that button goes away. And then we've also got the duplicate, delete, and element manager icons. And the element manager is probably something I'm going to talk about in another video, so definitely keep an eye out for that. So beyond that, you'll see that we've cleaned up the way that we've also referenced our control groups here on an element that you're working on. Before, these groupings of controls, such as our primary controls, effects, our customized section, those were kind of broken out into accordions here in the main workspace area. And you were kind of always juggling multiple layers of accordions because we have these subgroups here that can be collapsed or expanded as needed. But then we also have these macro groups to kind of help you easily jump around to different sections. So now that's been simplified a little bit. You'll see that those macro groups are always found here at the top level. And you'll see that the header is also sticky. So as I scroll through the workspace here, I've never lost context of, what element I'm on, what's the name, can I quickly duplicate or delete it? And if I need to jump to another section, I can simply click to Effects, Customize, Primary, back and forth as I need to. And of course, with some of our other quick commands that we've got, for example, if I command click on one of these accordions here, it will collapse everything in the tree. So if I knew I need to jump to my design section, I could quickly collapse those, jump into design, make my edits, and then maybe command click again to expand if I just want to see everything again. So lots of really nice little quality of life improvements there in terms of jumping around and managing your elements. Now, elements that have many more of these control groups up here, such as our navigation elements, this will horizontally scroll, and if need be, there will be little arrows that appear here that you can navigate with if you don't have a trackpad or a scroll wheel or something like that where you can easily kind of flick through it with a gesture. So next, we have our element library. which is pretty similar to how it was before. We've just kind of reworked it into the workspace here. Of course, we've got the sticky header up here, so you can always search at any point. For example, if you wanted to find all of your button stuff in your library, you could look through your standard elements and components and templates and search by those keywords there. And these are all able to be dragged in easily, just moving it over from the workspace here and plopping it on your page and getting to work. Next, we have our templates work pane. And this is a big feature that we worked on for a while to just kind of streamline how you as users access your content and can quickly get to things that you need to work with. So just like the element library, if you need to do a quick fuzzy search, you can do that up here. Just search for home or anything you might be looking for, and it'll bring up just the assets that you need down here. But what you're seeing in this workspace is effectively pages, because I'm currently working on a page. So it's going to show only the templates that I can work with here that I've saved to my library. And then it's also going to show me my section templates. You'll remember that our section templates were made back here using this guy. And remember that section templates are just top level elements that you've saved that in theory could be used across any builder. So those are just nice quick little touch points that if you want to save something out and potentially use it in a header, a footer, a page, you can save that out as a section template, and you'll find all of those in here as you work on any of your documents. But only the documents related to the one that you're currently in will be seen up here at the top. So for example, when you're in the header builder, you would see, okay, you've got 12 headers. If you're in the footer builder, hey, you've got 13 footers here that you've been working with. So that's what's really nice about this interface. And clicking any of these assets will simply add it to the end of your document. So if I click on this page here, it's actually just going to append all of that content to what I've currently got. I'm not going to lose anything that I've been working on. And same with the sections here. If I click on that, it's just going to append it to the document and allow me to get to work on it as I need to. We also have an alternate list view here if you just prefer to kind of see things without the visual indicator. And this will of course start on your personal library, but we've also got access to the ThemeCo Design Cloud library here. So anything that we as ThemeCo have saved out in Design Cloud as a page, for example, when you're working on a page, you can use these as starting points and you can get to work with those and start playing around with them. And it's just a really nice workflow for you to kind of seamlessly flow in and out of ideas and start experimenting with things and finalizing your design sooner. Now, this is also where you will save any documents that you're working on. So remember, I'm working on a page. So when I come to the template pane here and go down to save document, what I'm really doing is saving my page here. So I've clicked on my saved document. It says that I've got a page template. It's generated a little preview here. It will auto-populate with the name of the page that you're working on, and I can save that as a TCO file into my library for me to work with later. And of course, the library itself can be found here with the Manage Library button. So if I click on that, it's going to bring open an interface that you're pretty familiar with, just slightly shuffled around. And this is saying that it's currently showing 347 templates that I've got saved out. I can, of course, fuzzy search for different things as I need them. And if I need to manage any of these items, I can simply click on it and it's going to bring open the options here. So if I need to download it, delete it, remove or add a new thumbnail, and then of course adjust its title. Now we've also got our alternate table view here, which again is pretty familiar from the old version. So you can scroll through here. And this is a great way if you've got multiple documents that you need to download at once or do kind of a multi-selection thing. I would pop over to this mode, select the templates that you want, and you can download a bundle of those TCO files all at once or delete those assets if you need to. Finally, we've got our import form up here. So clicking on that will bring open a dialog for you to select any TCO files that you've exported and bring them into your library. And there's also a drag and drop feature. If you just drag a TCO file in from off screen anywhere, you'll get kind of a modal interface that will appear over everything that just says, hey, drop your file in. It will get uploaded into the library and you'll be able to work with that in your future designs. Finally, we have our globals pane here. So this is where you'll find theme options, what was formerly known as the color manager and also the font manager, which we're now just kind of referring to as global colors, global fonts, right? So theme options is pretty straightforward. This is where you'll hop in to just adjust any of the baseline things for any stacks you've been using over the years. Colors is where you will set up all of your global colors that you want to use throughout the tool. So, if I knew I had a primary brand color that I wanted to use everywhere throughout my tool, I could click on Add Color. I could jump in here. I could select whatever that color might be, give it a name, jump out, and now that color is available for me to use anytime I'm working in a color picker throughout the tool. As a very quick aside on using global colors, do keep in mind that whenever you access those global colors later, for example, in here, and if I wanted to select that and then use this alpha slider feature that we've had for a while where I'm still referencing the color, but I've picked an alpha value, and you can see that it's indicated by that yellow outline there. For that to work properly, do make sure that you're using an RGB value in the global color itself back here in your palette. If you use a hex value in here, that feature is not going to work as expected. So just a quick little thing. But if you're just using the color picker here, as you move around in here, you're going to see that that default value is an RGB value. And then finally, we've got our global fonts. So there's the general configuration stuff in case you're using Google fonts or Adobe fonts, things that we've had in previous versions of the tool. You'll find that all down here. And then you also have your global font palette items. Now, these have been adjusted slightly moving forward because over the years with people's designs, we found there were kind of some issues when managing fonts because in the previous version of the font manager, you basically selected a font family. So let's just say Lotto, for example, and you'd give it a name like My Body Font. And in previous versions of the tool, you would just see a big list of all the weights available, and you could select as many weights as you wanted. And then when you used it in a font control throughout the tool, you could select from any one of those weights. And this is a great pattern unless you happen to go back and change that font later. And let's say you went from a font like Lotto that has 5 weights to maybe a font that has 1 weight. It would kind of fall back in unexpected ways. So we've changed how this works a little bit, where now you basically pick your font family, and then you're going to pick your normal weight, which again would be kind of just the standard weight you want to use whenever you bring it in, and also an associated bold weight. So it's much more predictable, gives you results that you can expect consistency from. And if you go back at a later date and you pick a different font that has a different amount of weights available, simply update these and those will propagate out in a much more consistent and predictable fashion than before. And I think that just about does it for the interface updates for this release cycle. In addition to this UI overhaul, one of the primary features of this release is our brand new components and parameters features. There's a lot of really exciting stuff happening there. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you guys got something out of this and have a fantastic rest of your day.